Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Whoa. It's an early morning for me. It is 8:34 a.m. in the morning. I've been up for about an hour and a half practicing. It's been pretty good. I'm working on some new stuff. I'm about a page through Rodrigo. Oh god, what's the name of it? Not knowing the names of my music will be my downfall. Sonata Giacasa? There it is. I've been working on that. I'm about a page through it right now. You'll hear that later. I've also been working on BWV 997. I'm gonna play that for you today from memory with a solid interpretation, really convincing, so get excited for that. Just in case this is your first practice log, here's how these things work. There are three components. First is the small talk, that's this right now. Just tell you about my day, what I've been doing, practice-wise, all that. The second thing is I'll answer some common questions. That's the deeper talk. There might be more substance to it, there also might not be. Depends on how I'm feeling. And then I'm gonna play something for you. Whoa. Ooh, sorry about that, I need to make sure all my buttons are done. I've had a couple of videos where one of these buttons is just loose and I have to find a way to, it doesn't matter. So, how do I feel about my practice right now? It's going along really well. My actual practice, as in what I do in the practice room. I'm feeling a little stagnant on my ability to actually play the music that I'm working on for other people. If this isn't your very first sore hands video you're watching, you'll know that I'm in grad school. I talk about it all the time. I love the fact that I'm in grad school. It makes me feel like it makes me feel like I have a direction with my life and that I'm not a complete loser. Part of that is that I perform in the master class, and that's where you really put it on the line and see what you've been working on in the practice room. I don't know, I just feel like the music's coming along so well, and then I go to play it, and I always just kind of play it the same, where I just tense up, the music doesn't come out, and it just feels kind of bad. That's not the case for all the pieces that I'm playing. I think the only piece I can play in front of people is Lobe de Trennen, that Schubert piece that I've been working on since my lessons with Brandon, which is nice to know that I have one piece that I can play. But man, it'd be nice to have all the other stuff I'm working on too, huh? I'm sure it'll come along. It's a slow process, I know, and it's only been a month. 23 left to go. Whoa, yeah. But I don't know, I guess some things to learn from that. If you've been practicing for a while and you never perform and you think that you're hot stuff, maybe try playing it for other people. See how it goes, because man, it is so different. It feels like you have a skill cut whenever you perform, and sometimes that skill cut goes 90%. It's I'm playing 10% what I can play right now. And it's just, it's not a good feeling. It makes you feel like a baby when you can't play the music you've been working on. It's I thought I was a man, but now I'm just a baby, I guess. Okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, that's what's going on with me. How's it going with you? Is your practice coming along all right? That's good. Okay, let's get into some comic questions, shall we? Whoa, alright, I think I found a pretty good one here. This is kind of a hostile one. We're gonna treat it with respect. We're gonna, give it its, whatever. But this one is left by, Mitchell and 9887, friend of the channel, how's it going? You said, I'd like to interject for a second. You can just leave that part out because this is a YouTube comment. Classical guitar is the most inferior instrument. Well, I think you're the most inferior commenter. Ooh, whoa, sore hands clapping back, oh my god. You want to play chords? There is piano, melody, violin, counterpoint, piano, harp, etc. There are no benefits to classical guitar. Hold on now. There are benefits, and let's go over some of the superficial benefits. This is a benefit that I hear thrown around a lot that really shouldn't matter in a musical instrument, but it actually kind of does. What's the difference between a guitar and piano? The guitar is the idea of packing all your crap into your car and moving across the country without any care in the world. You don't gotta pay for U-Haul, you don't gotta do anything. You just put it all in your sedan, and it's just free, right? It's just the open roads, you and everything you own in the world, boom, open roads. Versus the piano, it's kind of like inheriting a bunch of really fancy and expensive and extremely heavy furniture that you don't want to donate, you would feel bad selling it, so you're just gonna keep it, just it was your grandpa's, whatever, and you just have to hire movers now. There is no freedom to you. You can't just pack your car up and leave, unless you want to leave all your crap behind. But the possessions that you have are now weighing you down, and you're no longer as free as you can be. It's great when you're home because you have all this fancy furniture. It's kind of cool, but man, there's a sacrifice to that. There's a cost, and the cost is that you're stuck. You have to be here now. Pianists, you don't know what it's like to practice outside. When it's a nice day, the humidity is 45%, and it's 70 degrees out, partially cloudy, but like no sign of rain whatsoever. Those beautiful days that happen sometimes. Like, you can just take your guitar outside and you can practice the day away outside. It's a beautiful thing being able to do that. Versus a piano, the only view you ever get is the room that you're stuck in. It's either that or the venue you're performing in. The guitar is a free instrument. You carry it around with you, and even beyond electric guitar, because I feel like electric guitar, you're making sacrifices for more volume, more like tone. When it comes to freedom and romance, I think the classical guitar is the winner by far. Now, again, that stuff shouldn't matter when it comes to a musical instrument, but I think it's funny that you brought out piano with that, because I think there's a lot of similarities between piano and guitar. First off, they're both not very old instruments. Like, the pianoforte came out, like, I don't even know, somebody say, but it wasn't that long, and I think it was maybe like around when the guitar kind of emerged as its at least somewhat modern form, like maybe the romantic guitar. You'll have to fact check some of that, sorry, but I'm pretty sure I'm sort of right. If you ever go to any music school, you'll find that it's the orchestra and the band that's kind of the king of the school. That's where the funding comes from, especially the band, probably, because they do the marching band for like the football teams. The next one is the orchestra, because a lot of people can show up to that. People can pay money, and it's this big event, a big concert. That's kind of what music school is all about. And guitar and piano, they both kind of take a back seat to that. Now, guitar takes that back seat way more than piano does. The piano, for whatever reason, which the reason why it's so popular is because the keyboard, like before the pianoforte, is a very old instrument, right? Like, claviers have existed for a long time, and there's a lot of literature behind them and a lot of pedagogy. A lot of thought's been gone into how to play a keyboard properly, and a lot of compositions have gone into it. I'm saying this as a non-musicologist. Probably the majority of Bach's work is for keyboard, or at least was like written on keyboard and has like keyboard versions. And Bach's like our most prolific composer. He didn't even write for guitar, and we still play. Bach is like one of the requirements on guitar. You have to be able to play Bach suites. So yeah, keyboard has just been around, and the pianoforte is just the modern advent of it. It's not really an orchestra instrument, but it has an in that guitar doesn't quite have. In that piano, when it comes to teaching music, when it comes to pedagogy, when it comes to like choir directors, for example, when it comes to getting one musician to show a bunch of musicians what to do, if you can play piano, that's pretty helpful because it's loud. You can basically play anything on it. And then one more thing, it is the accompanying instrument to all of those band and orchestra instruments that I mentioned. Whenever they want to play their own sonatas, you need a piano to accompany you. So pianos and the orchestra instruments are really locked in together. So that's sort of the relationship that I've noticed. Now, guitar is kind of like a lesser version of that, where, again, we're not part of the orchestra. We can be sometimes, but in rare instances. And it can be an accompanying instrument, but it typically isn't. It's not as loud. That's just, it's just not what it's for, you know? So it's kind of its own thing. And when you start comparing it to other instruments, like, oh, what's going to play chords better? What's going to play melody better? Yeah, like maybe a piano will be better at playing chords because it can play more notes. Like, you can play 88 notes at once if you use the pedal. But that's not why people play guitar. Like, they don't play guitar because you can play more chords than a piano can. What I love about guitar is that it is truly, I think, the isolated instrument of the classical instruments that we have. Piano is that too, but it's kind of expected to be like this accompanying instrument. And I don't know, there's something about solo piano music that just isn't really interesting to me. The piano is just kind of a sterile instrument. You know? I guess my point is that guitar and piano aren't really that different. Piano has more of a standing in classical music because it's more like the orchestra and band. The music's the same. All the composers are the same. Guitar has this whole different culture, like especially with like Spanish culture. Like, we call this classical music. It's not really the same as that classical music though. It's kind of its own culture of classical music, and sometimes we imitate those other people. We also have our own thing going on with the Spanish rep. Let's keep going through your comment. There are no benefits to classical guitar. I just listed some. It's a great instrument. The most useless instrument. It depends on what you mean. Like, in an orchestra setting, yeah, it is kind of useless. It's not for that at all. But if you had to pick an instrument that had to be run by one person and you wanted something as grand as a symphony, I would pick the guitar. Guitar shines in popular and jazz music because of the various ornaments. So true. Dude, the ornaments on guitar are only possible because of how intimate we are with the strings of the guitar. That's what I don't like about piano. There's this weird separation between you and the strings. You like press the button and then the hammer flies down. I've said this before in earlier episodes, but it's like always wearing a condom. It just kind of sucks. Versus the guitar, you're feeling that string. You can feel the ridges of the metal winding on it. It's very intimate. I much prefer that feeling, okay? Sorry, I don't mean to be gross. The various ornaments, hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, ghost notes, tapping, overdrive, delay. Overdrive and delay, my favorite ornaments. You know, I've talked a little bit about this too. When we have things like delay, like maybe that can't be replicated on the classical guitar without technology. But the things that electric guitar does, you have like the bridge pickup versus the neck pickup, you have reverb or no reverb. A lot of those things can be solved if you just find the analog equivalent of it. For example, the neck pickup is just going Dolce versus Ponticello, the bridge pickup. Hey, you want a reverb pedal? Maybe just go into a stairwell or something. You ever tried that? Which maybe that's the sacrifice of classical guitar. Like, the more stuff you want to carry with you, the more you're weighed down, but the more control you have over the sound, right? Like, at least with electric guitar, because you can carry around your pedals. Though it's going to fill up your car, it's going to weigh you down, but at least now you have delay. If you want reverb for a classical guitarist, I have to actually go somewhere that has reverb with my guitar. And you know what? A lot of this also is solved with modern recording techniques too. Because I'm going to play something for you and I'm going to slap a ton of reverb on there. And it's going to sound like I'm in a giant stairwell. And you know what? You can say the same thing about the loudness of the guitar. Like, if the guitar is not that loud, that's why it doesn't really have a place in modern orchestras. It used to have a place, or at least like quieter instruments like the lute. They did have a place in like Baroque orchestras at the time. But, you know, all the instruments just keep getting louder and louder. Well, hold on. Let's go through those ornaments again. So, hammer-ons, that's just a slur. Pull-offs, that's another slur, going the other way. So, slurs, classical music does not ignore that. In fact, in Bach, I use slurs all the time, and that's like a commonly accepted practice. Slur whenever you can. I love slurs. Sore Hands, 2025. Bends, okay, maybe bends doesn't really fit. Oh, and I think you left off vibrato, which vibrato is a big thing. That's an ornament, I think, technically. Ghost notes, I thought that was a drumming thing. I honestly don't know what a ghost note is. Tapping, yeah, maybe not. We don't really do that. Overdrive, delay. Again, the analog equivalent of overdrive is just freaking just whacking that string. You know, some music uses that. A lot of the stuff that you're talking about, like bends, slides, if you look at the Spanish rep, which is kind of the heart and soul of classical guitar, that stuff is actually pretty present. Because, yeah, guitar does that stuff well, because you have such intimate access to the strings. Now, when we're playing Baroque music and imitating the lute and stuff, maybe not as much of that happens, but more than you think. Like the slurs, for example. Like, a lot of modern guitarists, I feel, leave out slurs in exchange for that da-da-da-da-da-da, that, like, plucky Ruststroke sound. But, like, according to Brandon from my lessons with him, that's like not what the lute did at all. The lute was full of slurs. Like, whenever you can slur or use an open string, a string crossing, anything that is more legato, that's what you're gonna go for. The really plucky sounding, like those kind of trills, that's also a modern thing too. Like, you would just do, like, you would just do that, just like a tapping trill. So I think classical music might shun that stuff a little less than you think. Classical music gatekeepers take a good instrument, cut down 90% of what it can do, and leave the remaining 10% that other instruments can do better. I don't know, man. I feel like I have to disagree. I think classical guitar is pretty well utilized, in my opinion. And again, when it comes to expressiveness and just, like, connection with your instrument, I don't know. Can anything beat it? Especially when you compare it to piano. Like, does anybody feel connected to their piano? Really? I don't know. I couldn't imagine that. If you're a pianist, you know, like, the things you get more notes, you can play more stuff. There's a kind of better rep, honestly. Piano has some awesome rep. Sometimes we transcribe it for guitar, like Chopin nocturnes and stuff. But man, as an instrument, it is kind of a bummer. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay, we're done with that now. I'm going to play Beatle V997 for you. I'm going to do my best. And we're going to wrap this one up after that. So, I'll see you on the other side. I kind of flubbed it at the end there, huh? But that's from memory. That's maybe a little quicker than I should, but it's fun to play fast though, you know? I feel like it's easier for me to develop ideas with it when I hear it like faster, like I can hear the bigger picture more. But yeah, that's my first time playing it here from memory. I feel alright about that. There's a couple of fingering changes that I didn't include today, like when I do this thing. That's impossible. I'm never doing that again. It has to be that. But yeah, that's where that is. The fugue is coming up next. I've been working on that a good bit too. Yeah, that'll probably be the suite that I play in my recital for grad school. You know, I'm in grad school, by the way. So, you know, I have a lot of time to learn that. Like, you know, 2 more years basically. That's the Prelude memorized. I'm just gonna slow practice it for 2 years and it's gonna be freaking fire by the end of that, hopefully. Okay, I think we can wrap this one up here. Hey, you know, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. This is just a short little practice log. Reaction videos coming out soon. I got a big one coming up tomorrow, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Smash the bell and all that if you want to see that. Of course, head on down over to Rootin's Delight for some merch. This is the last day of the sweatshirt, sweatpants sale, so be sure to, you know, get that if you would want that. Or if you just want to give me money without an exchange of goods or services, there's Patreon in the member section, and I do very much appreciate that. Hey, I make this show for free, just for you. I do put ads all over it, but, you know, I gotta make a living. Hey, speaking of making a living, guitar lessons. I have, like, 1 slot. I haven't filled it yet, so, you know, if you're, like, super interested in that, it's at 1 p.m. during the weekday. Like, if you are interested in that time slot, maybe get a freaking job, like 1 p.m. on a weekday. What? But if that somehow works for your schedule, then, you know, maybe you reach out. Yeah. Alright, well, I'll see you in the next one.